Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Weekend Catch-Up Club, the coffee morning show brought to you live every Saturday direct to Facebook and available later at youtube.com/gamertide. We're back after a few weeks of my trying to keep a little newborn baby alive. That's right, I am a papa now. But back on the podcast, and I am joined for a bit of a show extravaganza. We have so much to talk about. So joining me on this show is the father gamer Eric Gibbs, which you will see on the top right-ish of your screen. He's up there, and then sitting just beneath him, we have Diarmuid Scannell. Lads, how you doing?
I think my new nickname is going to be the Childless One.
The child? The child.
Wait, which one of us is the Mandalorian? Come on now, you got to answer this correctly.
Well, I've always thought you're kind of a Watto, Eric. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go the Mandalorian.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jedi mind tricks don't work here. Only money.
Yeah. No. Officially, you're the Watto in this one. Yeah. No, I'm not the Watto. Thank you. We don't even mention the prequels. Thank you in my presence.
The prequel,
Anyway,
the prequels get a lot of grief, but I watched them back probably a couple months ago, and Phantom Menace isn't nearly as bad as I remember.
Oh.
Hot take.
Yeah, I mean, they've grown on me, I will say, especially since I've woven them through everything. I'm a little more. That was an awesome dance for me, by the way. I'm a little more into them than I used to be, I guess. I don't know. I just watched the new Star Wars, Lego Star Wars special on Disney Plus.
Right.
And if you watch it, they actually weave all of the movies, little bits of it.
Okay.
It's actually pretty cool, so I would check it out. Maybe we can talk about it next time. So.
Speaking of things to talk about, this is going to be an absolutely ram-packed show because we have two next generation consoles that just launched.
I only know of one. I don't know what you're talking about, Ross.
I'm talking about this one, baby. This one right here.
Yeah, Ross.
I would move my PlayStation 5 into frame, but it's gargantuan.
It won't
drop
fit.
it.
It'll
going to do that.
blur everything out. It'll actually move tides.
It would be like it would be like the opening Star Wars. You just see the PlayStation 5 coming in over.
We gotta reenact that. It's something like the cruiser coming over frame. Oh, fantastic.
We don't have enough wine to hold that
I need
thing
to
up.
train into this room to.
Yeah.
Oh
Wow.
dear, lads. How does it feel for you two anyway, to get your hands on the highly coveted PlayStation 5? And I got my hands on the Xbox Series X. And we're going to talk a little bit about both. But how does it feel that the next generation is now here, Diarmuid?
I still don't have that feeling yet. It's like when something really good happens and it hasn't hit you yet.
Yeah.
I still don't have that feeling that it's there, but it's sitting right next to me right now, and the games in it are fantastic. The UI is fantastic. All of that kind of stuff is really cool.
Yeah.
But it does, like, that wash of we're now current gen hasn't kind of hit me yet. So I'm still kind of waiting for that. But it's nothing against the console. That's just me just not having wrapped my mind around it yet.
Yeah.
You
But
guys
it
only
still
got it
feels
yesterday,
fantastic.
right? You guys only got it yesterday in the UK.
Yeah, 2 days ago. But yeah,
19th, I think it was. Yeah, for the UK.
Time travel. You guys are all in a different time. I get it. But yeah, okay. It was my birthday that day, by the way. Yeah,
Happy birthday.
Thank you. I was looking for that. Thank you.
I thought so. That's why I thought I better say something.
I give Eric too much attention already, so he's not getting a happy birthday from me.
Fine. That's fine. I won't cry or anything. But yeah, I mean, you guys just got it. Like I've been playing with it for a week now, I guess almost, and I'm still almost there. Like still kind of like I can't believe. Like I think yesterday was the first day that I kind of sat there and was playing Spider-Man. I remember the first day, starting it out, it was amazing. Like, oh my God, like, all that stuff. And then, today was the first day I think I was starting to like, okay, well, this is now. Like I'm not going, ooh, every second. I'm just focused in on the stories. I'm focused in on the stuff.
Yeah.
And it took about a week, but Yeah, we definitely have a lot to talk about.
Oh yeah,
totally, a lot more than Ross, at least.
Yeah.
Oh, savage.
Who earned?
Yeah. Wow. I can't believe that. So yeah, I sadly do not have a PlayStation 5, but I do have an Xbox Series X. And I gotta say, in terms of, yes, okay, let's get the elephant out of the way first, right? It doesn't.
The PlayStation 5s are next to Ermin already.
Yeah. The elephant is right here. It's looming over me.
Yeah. So the Xbox doesn't have the killer launch titles that you would expect, whereas PlayStation 5 had Miles Morales and has Demon's Souls, whereas the Xbox, okay, it's more kind of cross-generational stuff. Mm-hmm. But I gotta say, that cross-generational stuff and the backward compatibility stuff does show just how much of a jump these powerful new machines can actually give to games that are frankly, for the most part, sitting on everybody's back catalogs, pile of shame, still waiting to play. But now they're getting like a next generation experience of those older games. And I think that is worthy in itself. And yes, it doesn't have a killer title, but to see how fast these SSDs load and stream in the different assets and the quality of life features of how fast they all are is quite mind-blowing. Like, really mind-blowing. I was booting up Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which we're going to be talking about a little bit later as well, more in depth. And you remember sitting in those kind of Animus kind of vortex loading screens for almost minutes at time, or felt like minutes. Whereas now it's literally like 10 seconds, and then the whole open world is streamed in, and then you're ready to go. It's things like that which are just really quite mind-blowing. And, Valhalla runs at 4K, it runs at 60 frames per second, for the most part, really steadily locked, whereas last generation could only muster like 30 frames per second. And just to see how sharp it is, how crisp it is, and how smooth everything is, I think, damn, like this just wasn't possible last generation.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think that's going to be like a huge boon for games going forward. I can't wait. Yeah.
I think of the first moment, because the first game I loaded up was Spider-Man on the PS5, and going from the starting screen into the gameplay was like 2 seconds. Like it's every time I go in now, it's like 2 seconds, and I'm just like, and we talked about this a couple episodes ago, where like, of course, 5 years from now, we're going to be like, oh, stupid 2 seconds. Oh my God, it takes forever. What is wrong with this stupid system? But like right now, it's like, wow, that's just crazy. Yeah. I can't make a sandwich anymore. But
I just want to do a quick reenactment of what it's like to play the PlayStation 5, especially Miles Morales.
Okay.
You hit the button, load the screen. So what's on Twitter? Oh, we're here. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's mental. It really is.
Yeah. There's no dead air time anymore. It's just like instant. Remember,
it's so much going on.
Yeah. Remember
to load like that
a little while back when we were talking about Ghost of Tsushima on our Creative Ramble podcast a few months back, and we're talking about how fast and how well optimized that particular game was on an old mechanical hard drive, and how fast it seemed to load, and it was like a few seconds when you could fast travel. Whereas now, I think it was Miles Morales, just kind of straight out of the box, they haven't even really mastered the tech yet for optimization. And that's loading in like 2 seconds, like straight away, day one, it's like a 2 second load. And then by the time we get into mid-generation, it's insane how fast that this is going to be.
Well, like, the fact that it's loading this giant open world with all its, I'm going to use all the little catchphrases here, the ray tracing, the multi-surface reflection, and all that kind of stuff. But it's like, you hear those, and you're kind of like, it's cool, whatever. But then you see them. And that's the difference. It's like, there's some awesome little upgrades, some little stuff to the UI, to all that stuff. But just the meat and potato, awesome stuff that this is going to do for gaming. It's just it's fantastic.
Yeah. Diarmuid, what have you been playing kind of so far? I hear Astrobot is getting like a lot of attention.
That is what I kind of played at the start. So I've the digital edition of the PlayStation 5. So as soon as I obviously set it all up, immediately the only game I had was Astrobot, and I needed to download the other one. So I kind of let them download away. And while that was happening, I played some Astrobot, and it like that. It did. Astrobot, like, it looks fantastic. It absolutely looks fantastic. It sounds fantastic and all that. But Astrobot is all about this.
Yeah.
It's all about this.
Yeah. So tell me about these adaptive controllers.
Yeah.
Tell me about these adaptive triggers and the haptic feedback stuff and the DualSense.
So it feels like if you've used the Nintendo Switch Joy-Cons, you know, the games that came with that where you could like feel like
the ice cubes like rattling and that kind of
thing.
Yeah.
It feels like that in a controller form, in like a one unified controller form. Only even better, because there are levels in Astrobot where you're jumping from sand, and you can kind of feel the kind of the crunch of the sand under Astrobot's feet as you're just running around. Then you jump onto a metal surface, and you feel this kind of little tinny sort of tick 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 on the controller as you move across it.
Zipper.
Then yes. Then you jump onto like ice, and he little skates come out of his feet, and he starts skating around, and you feel it you feel this almost grind of the metal skate against the ice. You can feel everything in the game. It is incredible, and that's just the haptics. Then you get to the actual controller. During Astrobot's various missions, you get various pickups. One of them is a bow and arrow. And just like people have said multiple times, you can feel the string as you pull it back. You pull back R2 and then you release it. Then you have, later on, there's also a kind of a, basically a minigun, which doesn't sound right for Astrobot, but it fires out little bubbles, little balls. And you feel the trigger just not fighting back against you. That's the wrong way of saying it. But you feel each ball.
There's a resistance.
Yes. You feel it kind of leaving the gun as you pull it in. It's really different. I'm not going to be able to describe it in a way that you'll be able to appreciate. It's like VR almost. You need to experience it.
And I hate jumping in, but I'm going to do it anyway because you know me. Go
ahead.
Two things that are a couple of things. First, what you were saying about the VR. This to me, when you play it, does feel like, is this something that they have in mind for their next VR? For PlayStation's next VR. That's something that the entire time, like, I was thinking, this could be something that they could use that would be completely revolutionary with VR. Second, oh dear God, this thing basically, I think that controller almost sells the system alone.
Really?
Like, I think that is the one of the biggest differences between the two systems. Is that controller. That controller is by far one of my favorite controllers I've ever used. The third thing that I think is really cool what he was describing is I remember the first time I really noticed something different because I was loading Miles. The game I jumped into was Fortnite, because you know me and Fortnite. I picked up a blue gun, a pistol, and automatically felt like, okay, that's really weird. Like, I was pulling the trigger and it felt different. Like it had a resistance to it. And then I picked up another blue gun, but a different kind of blue gun, and it had a completely different feeling to how the trigger was pulled. The resistance was completely different. So then I picked up a yellow weapon, a gold weapon, and it was easier, but it was again a completely different feeling. So every gun I was picking up felt universally different.
That's interesting. We've got Scotty in the chat saying the controller is incredible, although Dirt 5 literally shakes your hand to hell. So I'm guessing that's like the terrain of rally driving.
You can turn that down a little bit though in the settings, because I have done that. Especially if I'm playing a PS4 game, I turn down pretty much all of that stuff because it's just useless at that point. But yeah, there's even a game, I forgot the name of it, where you go to pick up a gun, and I think this is some of the more like crazy, like Metal Gear kind of mess with your head, Psycho Mantis type stuff. Where they could literally take over the controller while you're playing. Like there's a game where you pick up a gun and it jams, and you can't pull the trigger. Like it literally will lock the trigger up on you. And so just as a game developer, a storyteller, that's just amazing to think of the possibilities you could do with just that controller alone.
That's cool, because you remember back in like Far Cry 2, where you had weapon degradation, where your gun in the game would jam. So if developers start using things like that, where you actually can't pull the trigger because the gun has jammed in the game,
it's so disconcerting. Like it's just like you're just like, okay, I broke it already. I've had it a week. It's fucking broken.
Yeah. Do you think all of this stuff will? Okay, two parts to this kind of question here. For esports, do you think that kind of stuff will just get turned off? Like for Call of Duty esports competition stuff, they won't bother with that. It'll be too, like it'll affect the aiming. It'll be too.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
I would say it's important for immersion, and immersion isn't really necessary in esports. They just want whatever's the quickest way of getting from me pressing something to something happening. That's what they care about in esports. This is all about when you're playing a game, feeling part of it. It works with the 3D audio. It works. All of it kind of works together to make you feel more in the game than, before. Yeah. That's the whole point of it. So absolutely, one of the first things that they'll do is they'll just turn all of that off when they're doing esports stuff.
Yeah. It's absolutely. Definitely the first time I picked up Call of Duty with that controller, it took me a good solid day to get used to playing with the controller. Like even if you pick up like a rocket launcher, it has a different heft to it and different tension. I think it's a lot of it is just the tension. To me, in my mind, I just imagine all these like pulleys and stuff inside. I don't know. I'm in love with that controller.
It's like controller voodoo. And the second part to that point is, so the DualShock 4 had some great features like the speaker, the motion controls, the swipe pad. Still, to this day, for me, the best example of those features in a game was Tearaway Unfolded. I thought it was such a marvelous game. I guess it's kind of like Astrobot in that regard, where you have to use the motion controls, you have to use the swipe pads, you have to use different gestures and the tech within the controller. But very few games really make use of those features, and the only one I can really think of is Tearaway Unfolded that did it so well. Infamous Second Son had some cool stuff with the spray painting where you have to like move the controller and shake the controller like you're shaking a spray can. But they're very few and far between. My concern about the DualSense is, will it be widely adopted to make use of these features, or will it fall by the wayside and be more kind of gimmicky stuff like it's just a basic rumble. It is just a basic kind of feature that developers have to not really spend too much time on because they're maybe cross-party games and they don't have time to really utilize or invest in.
I think some of those things like the swipe and stuff almost would feel okay. It more than often that felt like it was tedious to use those features. I mean, sometimes it was amazing. Sometimes it was just like, oh God, I got to do this little like thing kind of thing. I don't know entirely. I mean, I might be wrong in that, but I don't think that will be the case necessarily for the DualSense. Now, like we were talking about just a second ago, though, anything outside of the immersion factor, like if it's just about esports or whatnot, of course they're not going to really care about that for the most part. But I think this one might be the next evolution in that. I mean, I'm again could be wrong on this, but I think if you start playing it and you start expecting that in games, like the stuff they're doing already, I don't know.
I think it's very difficult to tell right now.
Yeah.
Because obviously we're at the launch. It's encouraging to see so many third-party games embrace it, though. There's a lot of different features that have been added to games now, like the Ubisoft titles and such that have released. You mentioned Dirt 5. That there's a lot of games, third parties have embraced it initially. Yeah. Is that going to continue? We don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Heck, Fortnite did, and they didn't have to go in and literally go redo every weapon for that. By the way, Fortnite, I was not expecting Fortnite to be beautiful. I mean, the damn thing up until recently ran on your phone. I mean, I was not expecting it to like me to stand there and just go, oh my dear God, this is beautiful.
It's amazing how much almost better graphics can appear just by having a much higher and sharper resolution.
Well, the resolution, but the ray tracing, just the light,
right?
It's just beautiful.
And it's going to look better.
Yeah.
So right now, the version that they have out there is Unreal 4.
Yep.
Isn't it?
I think that's the engine.
So. And they've already announced that they're working on an Unreal 5 version of Fortnite.
Wow.
So it's gonna look even better than what it looks like now.
It's so crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah.
They need to hurry up so that my new Venom suit can look badass. So.
Oh my God! So lots of exciting initial thoughts on the DualSense, and that's amazing. And I am jealous I didn't get a PlayStation 5. I will pick one up when the stocks become a bit more plentiful. But I am excited to see this controller and get it in my hands. And a big thing,
Ross, we all know the world's ending at the end of this year, so you messed up. You picked
the Mayans were only out by 8 years. It's fine.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, buddy. You know,
I'll never know the love of a good DualSense controller. That's what you're telling me.
I mean, you had a kid now and a wife. I mean, you're good. I mean, not as good as Diarmuid, of course.
Well, thank you for that. That's what I get for not wishing you a happy birthday. You know, it's coming back on me.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about games. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen for you guys, so you can get a good look at. Actually, if I can share my screen, where's I need Skype.
Wonderful. Microsoft.
How does this work again? Hold on. Share my screen. There we go.
I'm telling you, you have dad brain now. Welcome.
Oh man, please don't. There we go. Start sharing my screen. Okay, let me know as soon as you guys can see my screen as well, and then we'll hit play as well.
Yeah, it's just loading up now.
Woo! Okay.
Oh.
It's going to be choppy as hell. Hold on, let me...
Oh, yeah, it's that awesome Scottish internet speed. There.
Wait, please don't. Okay, that will just play kind of in the background. That's fine. So,
okay, that's fine.
Insomniac's Spider-Man. Okay, you guys have been playing it. I've been playing it on PlayStation 4 Pro, and I got to say, it is just insanely good on the PlayStation 4 Pro in terms of how it looks. Oh my God. Why is it defaulted to 1440? Hold on, let me get this down to 720. Jesus. No wonder it's struggling to play. There we go. So maybe a little bit better.
Acting like a Xbox right now.
I know. I'm sorry, guys. Yeah. So, hey, I'm trying to stream not only to Facebook, but I'm trying to stream to you guys as well. That's. I mean,
I'm making fun of Xbox, but I have to admit, I actually do love Xbox as well. And you know what? As soon as I can get a Series X, I will get one. I'm actually excited. I know we're watching Miles right now. But oh my God, by the way, when you walk out onto the snow and the snow melts during this game, that's
crazy, right?
It's crazy. So,
Diarmuid, have you been playing Miles Morales as well? I think you said you had.
Not a lot. I haven't had too much of a chance, to be honest. Okay. It was mostly yesterday morning. I played for about 2 to 3 hours, and I've just got a little bit into the game, really. I've been introduced to a few new characters. But just what you said, number one, it looks incredible. I'm playing in performance mode, so I'm getting the 60 frames non-ray traced New York.
Okay.
And it just feels fantastic. It feels incredibly smooth. It's perfect. That's exactly what I want.
It is beautiful too. Even then, yeah.
And I love the characters that they're introducing. I love Miles. I think he's fantastic. He's really funny, endearing. Everything that you saw in the first game. Yeah. Obviously, as the main character now, you just see more of it, which is brilliant. I love Genki. He's really funny.
He's the guy in the chair. Yeah.
He's the guy in the chair. Yeah. He's fantastic. I won't go into too many other characters because they might be spoilers, but I will just say that everyone they've introduced so far seems really well introduced, rounded. You know what's going on, or at least you have an idea of what's going on.
Yeah.
And so far, I'm really enjoying the story. But in terms of the gameplay, it's the same gameplay that we got with Spider-Man, which is fantastic. And then they introduced the Venom powers, and then that just increases everything. It's just fantastic. I really, really love it.
Yeah, Eric.
Going back to the DualSense controller with the game, the tension when already it was amazing to go through the city as Spider-Man and in the first game. They nailed that down. Like that was we all, that was my favorite game the year, 2 years ago, whatever it came out. They nailed that feeling down, but I actually got like goosebumps with my finally having it and big giant 4K ray tracing and having the controller, and you actually feel like a tension on the line when you're swinging the web, and it's just this immersion into it that, like, quite frankly, I think everyone knows I really want to be a superhero anyway. So,
who doesn't?
Yeah, who doesn't? But it's like, it's that feeling. It's like, oh my God, this is they've nailed the comic book game pretty much dead on.
Yeah.
And the story, like he was saying, and the characters, and one of the scenes you were showing a minute ago when you're walking through the neighborhood and in Christmas time, and it's snowing, and the lights are like, the snow's passing through the lights, and the lights are doing this weird voodoo thing where you're just like, my brain's exploding with just like so much possibility of storytelling and gameplay and everything with the PS5 and gaming in general. And I'm just so inspired by what I've played so far. The cinematic moments in this game are just great. The comic book moments are great.
Yeah.
And the gameplay is just nailed down. There's some things that they've definitely shaved off in a good way from the first game, to where you're not kind of aimlessly just kind of doing crimes. There's reasons behind it, a lot of the stuff. And overall, like, this is some great launch stuff. Like, and again, if you're playing it on PS4, you're going to enjoy it as well. So it's such a great game.
It really,
one last thing I just wanted to shout out before we move on to anything else. For Miles on PS5, specifically, I wanted to shout out the sound.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
The sound is spectacular.
with the headset,
with the 3D audio. Like, when you're down at street level, you can hear people talking there.
Oh wow!
And over there, and you can hear it. It is
swinging through is amazing like that too.
Because the first game did a fantastic audio design. So you can hear the cars honking when you swing down to street level, and as you kind of elevate up to skyscraper level, everything just falls away, and that was just a really great detail of audio direction. So, oh man, you're making me so jealous about not having the Pulse headset and these haptic controllers. I mean, I'm loving the game on PlayStation 4 Pro. It doesn't run at 60, but it is, I think, the checkerboarded 4K, which looks amazing. It's still got the majority of all the visual effects, especially the venom punches, the electricity powers and everything. And it genuinely looks amazing. But I think the big thing for me with this game is even more so over like Uncharted Lost Legacy, which is that kind of condensed full experience of the Uncharted games. This is still that for Spider-Man. But I think Insomniac have even raised the bar in terms of the choreography and like the camera work and just everything. There's a lot of set pieces that, Eric, you mentioned earlier about the set pieces. They genuinely feel like they could have come straight out of one of the big movies, like the big cinematic movies, in terms of the camera work and the choreography, and it's amazing, like really amazing.
There's a scene, I don't want to spoil it all, but it basically takes little bits and pieces of all some of the good parts of the Spider-Man games, and it's the Well, I mean, it's pretty much the very scene from the couple movies ago,
demo,
and the bus scene,
yeah.
and all those kind of things where Spider-Man showing like I will save everyone, kind of thing. And it's just great. But I think one of the things that I do need to say, because you were talking about the sound, the music for both of the games is well done. But there's a song by a rap artist named Jaden, I think is his name, that does like a theme song for this. And dude, I totally like that's on my workout playlist now. It's so like it's just perfect. And like when he's running and that song picks up a couple times during the game, you're like, oh dear, it's so good.
It's amazing.
I also love the main theme.
Yeah,
they took the Spider-Man the Spider-Man theme and just milesed it up.
Yeah,
and that's all I'll say. I'll just say main theme.
The music in this game is really good, and it really feels like the Into the Spider-Verse movie, but put in video game form. And Eric, I've already shown Diarmuid this, but I'm going to show you it as well. This will make you jelly.
I'm not jealous.
Yeah, you are. Yes, you are. The
art. Oh wait a minute! I have a PlayStation 5.
Oh, you son of a gun! He threw it back in my face again. Oh, Eric, I think we've lost you. I'm going to have to kick you from the call. Sorry about that.
What am I going to do? Go to bed?
You can sit there and you can think about yourself, about your actions.
It is. Oh, he's already talking like a dad. That's awesome. Yeah. It's like 4:30 my time.
I know.
Bro, I think I'm good. But yeah, it's. Oh man, we're gonna have a very. I know later on we're gonna talk about the Game Awards, but we are gonna have a very, very hard decision for our Game of the Year. Like,
man,
I'm just not even gonna do it this year. I think I'm just gonna go. These are my favorite games of the year. Have fun. You guys decide.
Yeah. So, overall, Miles Morales is. I'm about. I want to say about 4, maybe 5 hours in. There's tons of side activities. I think the main story is about kind of 8 to 10ish hours. But I'm loving it so far, and I can't wait to get back to it and play some more. But the side activities that they feel a bit similar to Marvel's from 2018, Spider-Man from 2018, but they're also kind of different enough that they're still like interesting, and you want to go collect them all. Yeah. And that's the real strength about 2018 Spider-Man and this one is, yes, technically on paper it's collectathon stuff, but it doesn't feel like you're just doing a collectathon, even though you are.
I get to swing around the city. Like that's
exactly. And the things you're collecting are usually giving you like backstory or about particular relationships between the characters, and I think that's just really cleverly handled.
And I know we're gonna move on in a second, but I do need to mention, because they are kind of packaged together. A lot of people, when they bought the standard edition, they bought for the PS5, went ahead, just paid the extra $20 or whatever it is, and y'all's made up money.
Yeah.
But they did the original Spider-Man, and of course we could talk about the face for like an hour alone. It is weird. It is weird to, like, especially after recently replaying Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. But it is so beautiful on the PS5 as well. Yeah. Like, it is just absolutely gorgeous. So I would recommend, like, day one is definitely one of the first.
It's essential if you're a superhero fan, an action game fan. I think it's absolutely an essential game, and
absolutely
it's got the same production values as, well, basically like the best of what you've ever really seen in terms of this genre.
I think people I've read where people were very like, oh, it's shorter game, or it should have been DLC. I was like, no, buddy, like, this is not DLC. No. This is not DLC at all. If it's shorter, that's fine to me. It's I would rather have a really purified version of a game I already loved with great new characters and new story. Mm-hmm. That's just a great experience. That's just slightly shorter.
Well, they've condensed the quality overall rather than trying to pad it out or stretch it out too far. And
exactly,
that's a strength. Like, first and foremost,
the only thing I'm a little nervous about is we know there's clearly going to be a Spider-Man 2. Yeah. I just hope that doesn't mean we're going to get a Spider-Man 2 in like 3 years. I'm hoping maybe 2 years max at this point. Yeah. But since they just did this, I don't know. I want it now. But it's, so I haven't finished Miles yet, but I still want it.
So quick hot take thoughts on Spider-Man 2. Do you think Spider-Man 2 will feature 2 playable spiders? And like, will you jump between the 2, or will there be
they're going to bring Spider-Gwen in? I think they're going to bring Spider-Gwen in somehow. I don't know if it'll just be for a second. I don't know if she'll be playable, but I would think that would be what they want to do to kind of like even out everything, especially with Spider-Verse. Spider-Verse is what, next year? Possibly.
Possibly. I'm not sure
with
when.
COVID,
yeah, exactly.
In COVID rules, we have no idea. But like, I mean, The Witcher stopped production 3 times now. Yeah. The show. So who knows at this point? But I would hope they would bring that in. I mean, I would assume we're gonna get mention of Venom of some kind.
Yeah.
I mean, here's a weird thing. Maybe he'll be playable at some point, and they'll make a Venom game. I mean,
maybe.
They're wanting to make this into a gamerverse. So
yeah.
Based on what we've seen so far with Insomniac and what they've done with the Spider-Man universe, they're obviously very respectful of what came before, but they want to tell their story, their own thing. So I think for Spider-Man 2, we're going to see something that's unique.
I mean, here's a weird take. I mean, the game, and I'm not too spoilery. I mean, Peter's obviously not around, and where he's at, maybe they do the next game there. I mean, that would be interesting to me. So
that could be very interesting. I was thinking what they would do is just expand New York.
Yeah,
so right now we have Manhattan.
Yeah.
Brooklyn, all of the other boroughs.
If you want to be sensible about things, yeah.
Well, it's the thing as well. Does Spider-Man work when he's not in New York? Because he's so synonymous with New York. So would other locations really work?
Honestly, he really does. I mean, he's supposed to be the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. I don't think we've built either character enough to really take them out of their element yet. Yeah. The fish out of water story, I don't know how well that would play, especially in a game that you're playing for 20 plus hours.
Yeah. I wouldn't see an issue with them using either of those characters in another game.
Yeah,
as in if they kind of like Marvel's Avengers, if you take them out of New York there, but for their own stories, I think basing it around New York is probably going to be the strongest choice.
I mean, New York kind of is a character in this.
It is, yeah.
So I don't, probably not. I mean, it would be interesting to see, but I don't think. Probably not.
Interesting question from Alan in the chat. He says, isn't an issue with the Spider-Man series that while they're awesome games, they kind of don't have any room for new innovations in gameplay? Web swinging can really only be as good as it is now.
No, I mean, I respect your opinion on that, but I mean, even during this game, with the Venom powers, they increase certain things you could do. Yes, the web slinging alone is probably not going to change too much, but like, there's a lot of innovations with the fight. I mean, the fighting techniques, the fact that you can go invisible, the fact that you've got the Venom powers, you've got all this kind of stuff,
and you can chain them and link them together. Like your webs can get electrified as well, so it adds like other stuff to it, other dynamics to it.
And you get all of the different gadgets and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. I mean, they could always increase. Yes, it's going to have that bare, that fundamental. The bones that they built with the first game, and I think no game developer is really going to go in and go, you know what, that stuff that worked, scrap it. We're going to try something new. Especially not for a budget. I mean, such an extremely high budget title as this. But like, no, I totally think that they could do some stuff different, especially when they're adding in like Spider-Gwen or do a symbiote or something like that. They don't necessarily have to do Venom. They could always make their own symbiote. That I mean, that would be weird, but they could do it.
Yeah.
So
mental, absolutely mental. I mean, it's just fantastic.
So great what they can do.
It is. It really is. It really is great. It's, again, it comes back to like the innovation with like the writing. like how good the writing is, how good these characters are realized, and how that world just feels like so authentic and so complete.
I mean, there are definitely gripes. Like we can sit here and gripe about little things, but this is one of those games that you really have to kind of like really hunt for stuff, or really just not like the gameplay for some reason or whatever, because it's just not your thing.
Yeah.
But for me, as somebody who loves comic book stuff, loves cinematic stuff, loves gaming like this, it's just perfect.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's that wrapped up then. Go check out Miles Morales.
Nice web.
So good, absolutely. So have either of you had a chance to play the Demon's Souls remake from Blue Point Games?
Yes, indeed.
Diarmuid.
Can you please talk about that, because I would break that nuclear alert if I played that.
I'm going to play my screen for the audience. I've had to kill it for you guys on Skype because it wasn't streaming. It wasn't playing back. So the viewers are getting a nice little video kind of montage thing here. Diarmuid, take it away. Tell us all. Well, first of all, before we go into the gameplay, let's talk about Blue Point Games as the remaster goats. The greatest of all time in terms of remastering video games. They did way back. They did the Metal Gear Solid collection HD remasters or remakes, if you want to call them that. They did most recently the Shadow of the Colossus remake for the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 4 Pro. That was absolutely spectacular. And now this is their biggest venture yet, and it is Demon's Souls. Over to you,
I just want to shout out as well. They did the Xbox 360 version of Titanfall, which was one of the best, for at least for the first few months, was the best version of Titanfall you could play. Until kind of Respawn did patches for the Xbox One version. They did such a fantastic. They're a fantastic developer. There's no other kind of way to kind of say it. They take old games. They kind of they understand what the original developers were trying to do, and then they just do that on new systems.
Yeah.
And that's what they've done with Demon's Souls. Full disclosure, I haven't played Demon's Souls PS3, so I'm not going to be able to compare it back or whatever like that.
There's plenty of other videos out there. I think Digital Foundry are doing a really in-depth comparison between new versus old, so that's totally fine. Viewers can go check that out.
All I will say is for Demon's Souls, again, I've only played a few hours, so I've only got this thing 2 days ago, so I haven't had a chance to fully dive in.
You haven't finished it yet? Jesus, man. Jesus.
I'm 2 bosses in.
Okay, wow.
I'm 2 bosses in. The first boss being a tutorial boss that you kind of almost have to die to.
Okay.
Apparently, you can beat him. I don't believe it. Anyway.
2 bosses in. That means you're about, 180 hours?
Yeah, pretty much.
About that,
You've died 1,000 deaths already. Pretty much.
So it is fantastic.
Well, that was fast. Let's move on. That's fine. Done.
Yeah, and we're done. The gameplay is exactly what I expected, because I've played a few Souls games now, and I've played Bloodborne as well, and I understand how it's going to play, and it plays just like that, only in 60 frames, with gorgeous lighting, incredible atmosphere, and beautiful music.
For a game like this, just getting the jump to 60 is a huge for the feel of the game, because it's so timing specific. Just that extra smoothness is really vital. I know you're a massive fan of Bloodborne, Diarmuid, and as much as I love the aesthetic, these games are not for me. I just cannot play them. I get so frustrated. I just can't do them. But to have that game at 60 would have been a revelation. But to see this running at 60 is and looking as good as it does is just crazy mind blowing. I mean, the viewers are getting a good kind of gameplay video here, and it's just insane how good it looks.
It's beautiful. It is really. It feels much better to play than the previous Souls games. I think was it Dark Souls 3?
Yeah.
Had a 60 frame per second mode on PS4 Pro.
Okay.
I remember playing that and enjoying it. But yeah, as you say, Bloodborne was 30 frames, and it was still brilliant, and it worked really well in what it did, but this feels like next generation Miyazaki. This feels like whatever Elden Ring is going to be, is going to be this. So this is why I think this is the bar that like those games are going to be kind of tested on now. The gameplay is fantastic. The initial kind of loading up and kind of getting into the world, it doesn't like outright tell you exactly what you need to do or where you need to go, just like any Souls game.
Yeah, it's typically obtuse about you need to work it out and find things out on your own. Yeah,
exactly. So yeah, I played through just a few hours, as I said. Really enjoyed my time. It just, I think more than anything, obviously we kind of know how those games play and whatever. It's the atmosphere that Blue Point managed to, like, it looks incredible, obviously, but like they managed to get the lighting just right, where there's a lot of dark corners that you need to be kind of shields up on, that kind of thing. And then the music is, again, I know a lot of people have complained about the music in comparison to the original, but because I don't have that comparison in my mind, I'm just listening to the music and just enjoying it. It feels very gothic, very... I don't know how else to describe it. It's just beautiful and sad and exactly what it needs to be. It really does feel
very
like
sad. Yeah.
I mean... You can watch gameplay videos of this like on YouTube, and it blows you away just how good it looks. But when you actually see like the 4K source files of this thing playing in front of you, it's just another level of technical expertise, lighting, and as you say, atmosphere. It's, I mean, what a title, what a launch title to have for a new system.
I am praying to the gaming gods that Sony bag up Blue Point and put them on some of their older titles, and like, you know, have them as a first party studio that they can focus on, number one, on one piece of hardware, which is always better for developers in terms of getting the best out of it, because these guys are, I would put them on a par with Guerrilla Games in terms of technical prowess. Guerrilla have always been a very technically incredible studio, and then they proved how good they were in other aspects when they released Horizon. This, I think Blue Point are up there in terms of just getting the best out of hardware, and I would love to see them tackle some older franchises as well.
It sounds too like they might be good to see them tackle their own thing as well.
Exactly. It feels like they've, I think I've read interviews with like Gavin Moore, who I think is one of the directors there, who kind of said that they enjoy doing ports because they're good at it. They found their niche, and they're good at that, so they're going to do that. But I too would like to see them do something original, just to see what
what is their creative chops like capable of.
You know, it kind of it makes me think too, like them doing ports is sort of like when I was a kid and I used to take my old drawing, like the you know, it's 4 a.m, I'm tired, my coloring books, and like trace like Batman or whatever, and eventually I'll learn how to draw Batman on my own. Like, they're learning from all of these great developers on their little tricks and you know, like making them even better looking. Like, I can't see why eventually they'll probably they make a lot of money doing that, but you do want to see some them, if they're that great at what they're doing, do something on their own, like Horizon, like you said, like Guerrilla did.
I would really like to see them branch out. But
I mean, for Guerrilla,
if they continue doing ports, I'm not going to complain.
Exactly, But for Guerrilla, the Horizon Zero Dawn launch, that or reveal, that was a moment where they took a step up into a certain pantheon of developers.
I liked Killzone. That was Guerrilla, right? It was Killzone. I liked the original Killzones. And they were definitely something, but like, it was, Horizon was such a, I can't wait for the next Horizon. By the way, just sorry.
Forbidden West.
Go ahead. It looks so good.
that actually opens up a broader question, which we can maybe talk about as well. Is these games, Forbidden West, are coming to PlayStation 4 as well? That got announced later after the fact. Do you worry, or are you in any way concerned that can hold the game back from really taking full advantage of what the PlayStation 5 can add?
I think
so far
before Miles, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe before I had played Miles on PS5, I would have said maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe that is the case. Maybe it's going to hold things back, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
After playing Miles and knowing Guerrilla, knowing Insomniac, I'm confident that they'll be able to make PS5 versions of those games that are, obviously there's going to be some gameplay things that they won't be able to do. Like, we already know that the new Ratchet and Clank game has that kind of dimension jumping thing that is not possible on a PS4.
Yeah.
And
it has to be a PS5. So.
And if you really think about it, like, the walls that a lot of people were bumping into with, the PS4 and the Xbox generation, was more fidelity issues and loading issues and frame rate issues.
Yeah.
They looked phenomenal, the games. It's just they just needed a little bit of a spruce, as it were. And that's what you get with the PS5. Now, like Darwin said, there's going to be certain games that there's no way, and we're going to get, I think, probably in the next year or two, we're going to get a lot of those games on both of the systems.
I think for Horizon, for Horizon Forbidden West, I can see why they want it on PlayStation 4 and why it's actually possible on PlayStation 4, because I can't imagine it's going to be a situation where Aloy is traveling between dimensions. Maybe. But, it's not like she's going to be doing that, where Ratchet and Clank...
Story is going in wild
Wow, it's going to be like a Spider-Verse for Aloy.
Actually Spider-Gwen. She's actually Spider-Gwen.
Crossover. It's the crossover we always wanted. But you
never knew we did.
But you can imagine there's not going to be necessarily gameplay elements like that where it is fully dependent on a fast-loading SSD. It's just going to be faster streaming, higher fidelity, probably like loading where you can't even distinguish it. But on PS4, you probably have some loading. It'll be longer fast travel. It'll probably look maybe a little bit better than what the first game looks like on PlayStation 4, but it's going to be that kind of we're still in the kind of 1 year to 2 year transitional period. So, of course, they're going to need to support PlayStation 4.
And we're looking at an incredibly, probably, very long cycle, especially because it's just this year, which, we don't need to get into too much, but this year I think is going to unfortunately delay a lot of things for the next couple of years. And I think we're in a very long cycle for these systems. So they're looking at it as, okay, we've got to pay for it too. So I don't know. I think it's fine. Yeah. I really think it's fine. And you're looking at even on Xbox, almost none of, I think they said for the next 2 years, all games that are Xbox exclusive are going to be available to all of their systems. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's just the world we're in right now.
Well, yeah, I mean, because both, like, if you take into the count of, like, there's over 110 million PlayStations out there, and mostly that'll be PlayStation 4s. There's 60 odd million, maybe more of Xboxes. Yeah. So you can't just cut that market share off entirely and say, no, you gotta now move over to the next generation. So
especially not in an economy like we're in right now. You are not gonna go, you know what, guys, you have to buy a $500 system to play everything. They're not gonna do that. Yeah. Game developers aren't gonna want that.
No.
It's just
no.
No.
Yeah. So before we move on to the next game, which is the Pathless, which I played a few minutes of, so we won't probably linger on it too much. Question from Scott Ferguson in the chat. Do you feel the new UI, this is PlayStation 5, the new UI does a good job to keep players connected? I'm not a fan of the lack of a news feed, and there's no obvious place to see image and gameplay shares.
I agree. I don't know why there's not a instant hub. Like I think that's one of the things with that kind of thing that it just doesn't do very well. I want to see kind of like the PlayStation 4. I want to see what my friends are doing. Even the trophies feel like there's not much hubbub over them. I mean, I like some of the little extra things like the accolades and all that kind of stuff. It's interesting, but I think that's probably the weakest thing on the system, which is really weird, to be honest, because last gen, everything was social media. So
I think when they had that UI walkthrough, however long back that was, that feels like a year ago now, but it wasn't. But when they did that, they had that explore thing, which looked like what we're talking about, that kind of place where you can see people's shares and what activities they've done, and news stories from PlayStation and all that kind of stuff. But during that video, they did say that they're still tweaking it, and it might not be available to everybody at launch. I'm not aware of anybody who has it at launch,
that's changing.
But I think it's coming. But again, we'll have to wait and see. But you're right, it is one of those aspects of the game or aspects of the UI that I miss. Because when you immediately load up the PS4 and you see your activity there, and you see a bunch, like, people have done various things, it's just nice to have. Basically, it's just nice to have.
Yeah. So. And another quick one, more just kind of from me, is either of you taken advantage of those little cards which tells you like the duration of like missions or challenges within the game? Have you?
That's actually really cool. That's actually really cool.
I have cleaned up so many missing artifacts and puzzle pieces within Astro's Playroom, and it's so quick and easy to do.
Yeah.
You just tap the PlayStation button, activities come up. You have 50% done in this level. If you want to complete it, you need to just collect this or this and do this. So okay, go there now, and it loads up. 2 seconds later, you're in that level and you're doing what you need to do.
I feel like I could have used that for the shrines and the foxes in Ghost of Tsushima.
Massively.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's there's a lot of little things that I'm absolutely loving with that kind of stuff. Again, I just wish there was more like, hey guys, look at, because you know me, I like to like show off my new, screenshot or whatever, and like I'm not seeing. It's so amazing.
I haven't pressed that button once yet. I haven't pressed it once. I need to start using that a bit more.
I've done it a lot.
It will seize up from lack of use, Diarmuid. You got to get on that.
Exactly. I need to actually see if it presses.
It's amazing too. As somebody who loves to take screenshots and videos, it's so amazing to finally just have it in a native 4K too.
Yeah.
Like it's like the screenshots look amazing. I mean, the videos look amazing, and I don't have to have some expensive card or something else. Like it's just it looked great, and that's why I'm really like I made a couple little clips, and I sent them to my buddy Mike straight through the system, and we were showing back and forth. Also, the picture-in-picture thing is really weird but really fun to do as well.
That's cool.
So I was playing a game, and we myself and some friends decided that we would party up in this game. But they were finishing up something else.
Okay.
So while I'm in the main menu of the game, I'm just sitting there, just doing nothing.
Yeah.
So I say, here, share your screen, so I can see how far you in. So they were playing Apex.
Yeah.
Okay.
And suddenly I'm just watching them play Apex while I'm waiting for them to finish their game so they can jump into the...
That's cool.
It's a feature I can see being used a lot.
Well, for me, what appeals to me on that one is... I like to stream gameplay like quite regularly on Twitch and on Facebook and stuff, and when you're playing with friends like in the same party, whether it's Rainbow Six Siege or Destiny or Fortnite, and you're playing in a party, it's really difficult or cumbersome to try and get their feed into your broadcast.
Yeah.
Whereas if I got Eric's picture-in-picture on my screen, I can just have his feed in the bottom corner, and then just do my broadcast to capture card as normal. And then you've got the two screens like going. I think that can really transform like party modes, like on Kinda Funny, where you've got the multiple viewpoints of cameras without intensive editing of different sources. Just have it picture in picture, and it's going to open up content creators as well.
And that's why I'm really hoping, like Diarmuid was saying, that there's something coming really soon where there's a lot more of a hub of like everyone what they're doing and showing off, like the PS4 had that little what's happening thing or whatever it was thing when you load it up. I think that's, you want that community like there, especially right now. Like, you really want that community. And so, I don't know. That literally is probably my biggest gripe so far about the PS5.
Yeah.
Which is great for console launch, to be honest.
That is actually really, really good. So, let's jump on to the next game. So, I shared a link with you guys in the Skype chat. If you want to pull that up, because I'm going to share my screen. And just in case you're not familiar with this game, I want you to be able to see what we're going to be talking about. And it is called the Pathless. And this is by a studio called Giant Squid Studios. Now, this game, I was super excited for this game because the pedigree of this studio. Who of you are familiar with Journey and Abzu and Flower on the PlayStation 3? So
Journey.
So Journey is kind of this cult, critically acclaimed classic, and the art director was Matt Nava. He was the art director on Journey and Flower for the PlayStation 3. At the studio at the time was That Game Company. Now he left and set up his own studio with some other developers called Giant Squid, and their first game under the new brand was Abzu, a game I absolutely adored. It was beautiful to look at. It was all about kind of like fish, schools of fish and the physics, and just these beautiful underwater illustrated environments. And it had the Journey vibe to it. It's very much, this is the kind of their niche of game in terms of the way it makes you feel and a certain tone and emotion.
Yeah.
So this is their new title, and it is, I only played out like maybe 15 minutes of it last night because I wanted to just dip in and see what it was like. And so far, I think this is going to be a very special little title. It's something that nobody is speaking about just yet, but it is a launch title on the PlayStation 5. It's available on PlayStation 4 as well. It's $29.99, so it is a budget title. But visually, it is just beautiful. And they've really ramped up their mechanics here. You'll see from the video that the character has this kind of eagle partner, but she's firing arrows into these target spots, and then that is basically whooshing her through the map. So the traversal has this flow to it that makes you basically glide through the world like really, really fast. And you develop this rhythm of picking out the different targets which you fire your bow at. It automatically locks on, so you don't have to aim at the targets. You just have to kind of put the camera roughly in the direction of the target. Hit your trigger, you'll fire your bow, and that will give you this boost energy. And if you hold the the left trigger, you'll start sprinting, and then you'll dash when this energy from the target gets absorbed, and you can start chaining together these different target points to glide through the world. Now, the premise of the game does sound a little bit formulaic. You are like this last warrior that has to restore light to the world. It's now covered in darkness, so very kind of generic in that regard. But the art style of this game, and as you can see on the video, the viewers can see this, there is a degree of puzzle solving with your bow and arrow. You have to shoot targets in different like order, and there's a lot of puzzle solving. But there's also this kind of Shadow of the Colossus style of boss fights, which you have to then defeat to then restore light to that area of the world. There's obviously a touch of Breath of the Wild in here, where you have to get to an elevated point. You can kind of see various hotspots and landmarks on the environment, and then navigate to it just from line of sight rather than a complex, complicated HUD system and waypoint markers and things. But so far, my initial impression is this is going to be really, really quite special because of that, the way it flows. And if you're familiar with Journey, if you're familiar with Flower or Abzu, you can totally see the pedigree that they've learned from that, almost in a similar way that Supergiant Games took all of their previous learnings and then created something with Hades. You can see where they've been building into something quite ambitious and quite impressive on that is radically different enough, but also similar enough from their previous games. And I was that excited with wanting to jump in and play it. I wanted to talk about it this morning and show you guys a little bit of it. I think it's going to be something that is going to get overlooked quite significantly because of Miles Morales, because of Demon's Souls. And this tiny little indie game has come out, and it is so beautiful to look at. And it's this rhythm of movement that they've really doubled down on that is super impressive. And I can't wait to play more. But I don't really have too much more to say about it because I've only played so little of it. So it just looks so cool. Like, so nice.
It does look really nice. Also, one of my favorite aspects of almost any open world game is its traversal mechanics.
Yeah.
Which is why I obviously like Miles Morales. This looks really fun.
Yeah.
I think if I'm going to play this, obviously I've spent far too much money already on games. But if I'm going to be playing this looks like a perfect candidate for the holiday, not doing anything for a day, lazing around the house, play this game.
Yeah.
This looks perfect for me. So this looks like my December game.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, does it kind of have a Shadow of the Colossus vibe to it in a way when you're playing it?
So yes, in the sense that it is this massive environment. This I mean, I sent you a screenshot last night, Eric, and that was from the very opening of the game. You could see these like monolithic structure, like ruined structures in the distance. There's a lot of woodland, and there's no guidance, so you can literally just wander through the land, aiming for various like temple structures and shrine structures, and then you have to kind of uncover it yourself. And in typical like Journey gameplay design, there's no like speech audio. There's no narration. You just kind of have to read the terrain, read the environment, and then just pick up what's going on. And again, just like Journey and Abzu before it, the soundtrack is again composed by Austin Wintory. So the soundtrack is just fucking beautiful to listen to as well.
Excellent.
So it's and that YouTube video, you're seeing these massive like beasts, these creatures. There's one that's like fire, and there's one that has this almost like cone of vision to see you. That stuff feels like it might be quite like Shadow of the Colossus in terms of there's no enemies that you have to just kill on the way there. You're getting to the beast, and then that's your focal point. That's your enemy. I don't know if that is true or not because I've played so little of it. But that's the vibe that I'm getting from it. Is there's a bit of Shadow of the Colossus. The traversal mechanic feels a little bit like Warframe when you can like dash, slide, like knee slide, and then jump, and then you do the helicopter spin to catapult yourself. Feels a lot like that as well. But it's just got this beautiful art design that is very true to the previous catalog of games, and I really want to just check out more of this as well. And maybe we'll come back in a couple of weeks' time and get a proper thorough look at this game.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
The main character definitely reminds me of Journey.
Yeah.
Quite a bit. Love that game.
Yeah, and at the very beginning of the game, it's not spoilery to say, you have this like headband that you pick up and you put on, and then if you tap the triangle button, you basically go into this like an ethereal like spirit view. And then and that's when you can like highlight like key parts of the environment. They glow red, so it'd be like a tower would glow red. It's like, okay, that's your navigation point. Just by tapping the triangle button to change the kind of like Soul Reaver, like the original Soul Reaver, where you could go into the spirit world and then you could pass through certain walls. So that there's a bit of that kind of stuff as well for environment traversal and navigation puzzle solving. I can see that being quite prominent.
It's awesome.
But I mean, it just looks beautiful, and I wanted to give it a shout out because nobody's talking about it. The only video I've seen of it is the YouTuber Skill Up has been the only one that said don't sleep on this game because nobody's talking about it, and he's the only one I've seen that's actually done a video coverage of it. So more people need to know about this game.
Awesome.
Yeah. Anyway. That's quite enough of that. That was The Pathless by Giant Squid Studios. Woo! What's next? Since we're on fire here, we're over an hour.
For anyone who needs more enthusiasm for The Pathless, currently sitting on a meta score of 80, which is fantastic.
There you go.
A user score of 8.9. So it's
it is.
Get on that if you need to.
Top stuff, really top stuff. Anyway, so we'll probably save the video game award nominations for maybe next week. We can maybe come back and do another episode because we are running long. But we've got two ones to end the show on, and that is Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Viking Life, which I'll talk a little bit about. We're playing that on Xbox Series X, and then Eric, you're gonna end the show with Yakuza Like a Dragon.
The greatest game of all time. That's all I have to say. Like that game. Come on, hurry up.
Okay.
Over my light. It's so.
Don't so excited you're knocking the place over. That is so funny.
Yeah.
Right. So let's do Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Right. Let me just get the screen sharing going here, and let's drop the bitrate. Oh my god, choppy. Let's drop it down to 720 so we can stream properly here. Okay. So. The latest massive game from Ubisoft is, of course, another Assassin's Creed title, and it is set to the backdrop of Norse mythology, Viking life, and currently I am really, really enjoying it. I think it's really good fun, but I will say this. Ghost of Tsushima has ruined the Ubisoft style of open world game for me forevermore. Having said that, I am really enjoying Valhalla. It's a marked improvement over Odyssey, but it is still the same Ubisoft style of open world. And I'm sure you all know what I mean by that. There's loads, there's tons of stuff to collect, tons of stuff to uncover. But what I will say is that they have overhauled the way in which exploration works in this game. That it's broken down into, I think it's 3 categories. There is wealth, so there'll be gold dots that pop up on your map, but you don't know specifically what that is. It could be a mission that leads to some kind of treasure. There are artifacts, which could be like Roman artifacts that you just have to, like souvenirs you collect, or it could be a parchment paper which gives you a new skill, or it could be something else along those lines. And there are mysteries. Now, mysteries are the most enticing aspect so far, which I'm really, really enjoying, just going through the world, trying to uncover these. Now, mysteries can vary to include your side missions, but they don't really feel like side missions, and they're usually extremely entertaining, but they're also very, very short to just jump in, bash them out, and then move on to the next one. And the way in which they're handled is really funny and varied, because there'll be ones where this guy he's inherited a field, he's trying to grow his crops, but it's on a plot of land where there's a rat infestation, and this is the mystery you have to try and help him out and try and solve. But his next door neighbour is a crazy cat lady, but she keeps all her cats locked up in the house. She doesn't let them out, so you have to then convince her to let her cats out of the house and roam the fields, which then are the solution to this guy's rat problem, because the rats will basically kill the cats will kill the rats. So it's really like silly and funny, but there's lots of this kind of thing where you uncover these characters with their silly little side objectives, and they're just really, really entertaining. There's another one where this guy is brewing some kind of ale or grog, and it is renowned for its power to knock you unconscious. And what that leads to is you basically get drugged and then you wake up in some cave like at the other side of the map, like basically stripped naked. And then there's bodies of other people that have been duped into this kind of thing as well. So you have to uncover like who this guy is and why he's drugging people and all that. So there's lots of little.
It's a Saturday night for me.
It's a Saturday, yeah. It's Eric with some Rohypnol, right? No problem. So,
God, guys, you're so vanilla.
I know, right? So, the mysteries are filled with little kind of things like that. And it's really, really entertaining to just wander the land. Your compass will pop up with a little flashing blue dot. You don't really know what it is, so you start making your way toward it. And then these kind of silly characters will start to come into focus. And then they'll have these little... I mean, maybe like 10 minutes long per mission. They're just a lot of fun. So that I'm really, really enjoying. On a mechanical level or technical level, the game has issues. Of course it does. It's so huge. There's a lot of bugs. There's a lot of screen tearing, which I really hate. But overall, it is beautiful. It is running really, really smoothly on Series X. But there's so much to do, and it can be overwhelming. It can be daunting as well. It can be a little bit, oh my God, I can't face another Ubisoft open world game. But because of the world is so richly like detailed and beautiful, and the way that they've changed exploration, it keeps me wanting to kind of go back and uncover like what's going on in England during Viking times. And I have to say, I'm really, really enjoying it, and it is impressive. I love the combat. It's super crunchy. There's more weight to it than Odyssey. Odyssey, I never really liked the combat because it just felt too arcadey, too light, too fast. Valhalla is still fast, but there's definitely more weight to your movement and more weight to the combat strikes, which I'm really, really enjoying. And I think that is a massive improvement over the previous games. And it
looks very visceral, very like just very bloody, and I love it.
Yeah,
it looks awesome.
It's a lot of fun. It's but it's difficult because we all adored Ghost of Tsushima so much in terms of how it handled a lot of its world design, and we talked a lot about that on the podcast. So it is hard to go to an Assassin's Creed game after that. But I think they're moving things forward on a gameplay level in the right direction. I think overall in the right direction. It needs more polish for sure. It needs some patches.
I have two questions for you. Yeah. One, how does it feel? Because I know they've been been really turning the Assassin's franchise into an RPG series. So how does that feel? Does it feel like it's a good progression in that change? And two, is there a beard braiding mini game in it at all? Because if not, then I'm probably just
important questions.
That is a very important question.
I haven't seen a beard braiding game in it just yet. That's not to say it's not there. I maybe just haven't uncovered it yet.
It could be part of the season pass. We'll see.
Yeah, it could be part of the season pass. I know. But in terms of the art, it feels much more RPG like than the older Assassin's Creed games, if that makes sense. There's a huge sprawling skill tree, which don't get me started on that. I'm not a fan of this at all. I had a rant on Twitter about how badly designed the skill tree is, because it looks beautiful, but it's these Nordic almost like kind of constellations runes. That's what it looks like. But the skill tree is such a mess, and that there's in a typical skill tree, you would pick a path to then craft your character in a certain way, a certain build. So if I wanted to only focus on stealth, you would take that skill tree and then you'd invest in that, and then that would uncover different ways to be a strong stealth character. Or if you are a frontline tanky character, like take everybody on with your melee attacks, you would craft that particular character. The problem with the skill trees is they have a color coding. So gold is like your range, your bow and arrow. Red is melee, and I think it's blue for like stealth. The problem is it spiders out in such a way that I wanted to focus on the melee stuff. So like I'm a berserker kind of character build, but as I'm expanding that skill tree, stealth will appear in there, or range will appear in there, and it's like +2 ranged or +2 stealth, and it doesn't make sense why it's there, because it does. It's not like it's not like it's evolving my melee skills. It's just like it feels too randomly dropped in there, and there's a lot of that. Like if there's ranged, then if I start pumping points into that, then melee attacks will appear in there as well. So it's kind of like they've broken their own rule set for how a skill tree should work. And that needs to be completely overhauled. And that is one of my biggest frustrations with the game is They have this beautifully designed skill tree. I mean, visually to look at, it looks gorgeous. But from a UI standpoint, it just doesn't make any sense because I can't then choose a build that I want to focus on because, and I don't mind skills overlapping. That's totally fine because a lot of times you'll maybe have a ranged stealth attack, which would be fine, that makes sense. But the way it's handled here just doesn't work. It doesn't make any sense. It feels too random. And you can't see where the branching paths go. There's this
That's really weird.
There's this fog of war over everything until you pump points into it. It'll unlock another branch. So you don't know what's there, and you don't know what you're working toward until you've uncovered it. You can reset your points, but that's just doesn't make any sense. It's like a failing of UI right there, which is really disappointing. But overall, the actual core game is a lot of fun, and I am enjoying playing it. I'm enjoying just wandering through the English countryside, and raiding villages is a ton of fun. But there are issues for sure. But when you embed your axe into an English knight, it's just this satisfying crunch, and it's a lot of fun. And it looks fantastic. It looks really, really good. But yeah, there are issues in a typical Ubisoft game, so bear that in mind. But it's still fun to play.
It's sort of like the Ubisoft. We kind of look okay, or the anytime an Elder Scrolls come out or something like that, we go, oh, okay, yeah, but it's still a fun game. Yeah, is it that, or is it? There's a lot more to it that it's a little bit above that.
I'd probably say a little bit above that. There is a lot there, and I am enjoying the way it plays. That like the gameplay feels really good. It still feels on the arcadey side to something like Ghost of Tsushima for sure. Mm-hmm. But there are like parries and blocks and encounters and things like that. But it is still heavily reliant on your ability skills, where you like press and hold the bumper or press and hold the trigger and then hit a face button and you'll do this like big move.
Yeah.
So it's still heavily reliant on that, but it's crunchier in a way that the modern Assassin's Creed games have been. So that's a good thing. But it's not awesome. It's not as satisfying as the swordplay in Ghost of Tsushima.
I mean, we got spoiled on that one.
We really did. But one thing I do want to call out, which I'm enjoying, is they're leaning heavily into the Norse mythology lore. So you get to go to Asgard, and there's things like you're fighting alongside Thor and other kind of Norse gods. That's obviously really awesome. But there's also the pagan ritual side of like Christianity and the pagans of England at the time. So you'll stumble upon these ritual sites where a pagan god will appear, and that's like this mini boss that you have to then fight. So,
that sounds fun.
So there's all of this other stuff in the periphery, which is actually really compelling and really, really enjoyable. So it's stuffed with stuff, and as a Viking adventure, it's awesome in that regard.
I saw that there's a Beowulf DLC coming, so
they're
nice.
They're leaning heavily into the Norse mythology, kind of like Odyssey was before, where it was Greek mythology. You'd have like Medusa and the Greek gods. They're leaning heavily into the fantasy aspect of these mythologies, which I really, really appreciate. I really do enjoy it. But it is still an Ubisoft open world game, so go in with your eyes open expecting that. But I think it is compelling enough that it's just an enjoyable Viking romp, and that's what I'm enjoying at the moment.
It's awesome.
I think I'm going to pick this up. It's between... So I have my open world game right now. I have Miles. But when that is finished and done with and I move on, I want another open world game to kind of keep me going as well.
Yeah.
And it was always going to be between this and... What's it called? Immortals, which is coming out in December, I think.
Phoenix Rising, yeah.
Exactly. So it'll be between... I want to wait until that drops and see what the reviews say for that, and then I'll make my decision. But it is between this and Immortals, so let's see.
Yeah, mine is finish Miles and Yakuza, and then after that, it was either between this, depending on the time, or Cyberpunk. If it still comes out, it should at this point. We'll see. But Immortals would definitely need to talk about if any of us end up picking it up later, because I'm actually very curious about that game.
I am as well.
That's Ubisoft as well, right?
It's Ubisoft as well.
Yeah.
I've heard some people saying it's the game that they wanted to make but had to make Odyssey first, which kind of makes sense. The only thing that's putting me off Phoenix Rising is it looks so derivative of Breath of the Wild to such a degree that I don't know if I can give it the time, which is probably unfair, and it may be very, very good and very fun, but I'm kind of keeping an arm's distance from it until reviews and things come out.
Yeah.
But
I think for me, because I'm looking like I want more Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
Nintendo are not giving it to me yet. They're giving me Hyrule Warriors, which I'm sorry, I'm not into that kind of gameplay anyway.
Yeah.
I want Breath of the Wild 2. They're not giving it to me. Ubisoft have stepped in. It's like they're doing it, so I mean,
yeah. I mean, if it's good, I don't see why not.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, I mean, just having a much prettier Breath of the Wild with 4K with 60 frames per second on the new consoles might be enough of a sell for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
That's cool. Okay, but yeah, Assassin's Creed Valhalla. It's a lot of fun. There are issues, but it's
no beard braiding minigame. We established that too. So.
No, but there are barber shops and tattoo shops. You can maybe style yourself into like a Viking father gamer.
That would be awesome.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Needed.
But yeah, I'm enjoying it a lot. I am kind of addicted to it because it's just a lot of fun to just wander around, uncovering these little mysteries with these silly side characters that are throwaway side missions, but they're memorable and they're fun, and I love that part of it.
We talked about that briefly when we did the Ghost of Tsushima review about how right now, since we're all on lockdown essentially, how these environments of these big open environments are such an important thing to a lot of us. And you get to run around the countryside as a Viking in Valhalla, or in the game that I'm about to talk about, Yakuza, you get to run around Japan and fight Yakuza with baby diapers on. But it's it's all in the travel. It's the journey.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, Eric, hand it over to you for Yakuza.
Okay, see, I was hinting, by the way. Yeah, Yakuza is absolutely crazy. Like it is just amazingly crazy game that, like, anyone who's ever followed me knows that, like, I talk about the Yakuza series, Dragon Quest, a lot. Like there's a lot, like JRPGs and a lot as well. And so they've basically taken Dragon Quest, Yakuza, a little Persona, put it in a blender, and through a couple dashes of just absolute insanity and have created something that's just kind of magical. Especially like I am such a fan. Like I was so nervous, even when I first booted up the game. And let me say right now, first, I'm playing a PS4 version on my PS5. I know if you have Xbox, that right now that's the only way you can get the
next gen version.
Next gen version is on the Xbox, but I really have to say it is really nice looking on my PS5. Like it is actually quite stunning. On the PS5.
If you think about Yakuza 6 and Judgment.
Yeah, Judgment looks.
Those games are really beautiful games. Like the facial animation and the detail of the characters is really high quality on last gen.
Yeah.
So
it really is, and the fact that they basically, for the first part of the game, when I stepped in and I was like, okay, it's Komarocha, like I recognize the area. I've been here a million times. It's its own character in the series, the city. I was very excited to get in there, and then you start doing the combat, and it's the good old fashioned JRPG kind of combat, and it's so jarring. To like all of a sudden you're just not doing a beat 'em up, you're just this turn-based combat, and it you get used to it very quickly, but it did take me a little while. But as soon as they take you pretty much out of that area into basically its new area for this series, by that time you're very much in love with these characters. Who, by the way, Ichiban, the main character, is such an optimist. He is complete opposite.
Okay.
Of the previous character. Like he's such an optimist to the point that he's just goofy, which is great. And he's a huge Dragon Quest fan.
Yeah.
So the reason the gameplay is the way it is because he sees the world as a big RPG.
Right.
So that's amazing. Like, that's just like, okay, at least there's a reason for it. Like, it doesn't just go, okay, you know what, we're just going to... But he sees the world as a big JRPG. And through the course of the game, he picks up a group of people, which, by the way, some of the crazy stuff, especially in it, reminds me of the South Park, the 2 South Park games.
Okay.
Like the
Stick of
weird...
Truth and... I can't remember the other one.
But whatever.
The butthole thing. Yeah.
Yeah, butthole thing. Yeah. Yes, that's the butthole thing. That's what they want you to remember.
The fractured butthole. That's it. Thank you, Diarmuid.
But it reminds me of that strange gameplay, you know, where you're calling out like these weird attacks and weapons and all this kind of stuff. It even has almost a hint of the Saints Row series.
Okay.
To a degree. Like, it's just so weird and bizarre and fun, and you get to explore this really big area now, and it's beautiful. And you know how you're talking about the cat lady and the rats thing. There's so many weird things like that in this game that you're just stumbling upon, of these side stories that are just crazy things. Like, there was one where there's a guy, you bump into him, and I don't want to spoil it too much, but basically you end up finding a group of guys that are in a dominatrix type scenario that are dressed up as babies.
Okay.
And you even have a system on your phone. You do this whole mission where you find a Professor Oak type character, and he has you beating up people in the game to collect them all the different kinds of enemies, and you get to collect them in your phone. And so there's Pokemon references, there's Dragon Quest references, there's Mario Kart references, and then it's the typical Yakuza thing though, where you'll have this super silly moment, and all of a sudden you'll hear the music, and you're like, oh, okay, well, we're about to get into like something sappy.
Yeah.
And they'll get into like, you know, yes, I am a guy dressed up as with a diaper, but when I was a child, like, they'll get into this whole thing, this sub story. You're like, okay, that's weird. But it's charming.
Yeah.
Like, it's just charming. And then it actually has stuff to say too. It could just be the weird thing, but like, it actually talks about homelessness and sex workers and, you know, the elderly and just all these great things, friendship and PTSD and just all these things. And then you're just like, then you'll turn around and you're beating someone to death pretty much with a giant massaging wand. So it's, I turned to my wife, well, by the way, when I purchased that weapon, and I was like, this is the greatest game ever.
Yeah.
This is just the greatest game ever. So it's really fun. If you have a PS5 and you're on the fence, you're going to wait till March, I think it is, go ahead and pick it up. If you're a fan of the series, it's really fun. And if you got an Xbox, I think is it on Game Pass? I'm not quite sure.
No, I don't think it's on Game Pass yet.
But either way,
but I think I think the previous Yakuza games are coming to Game Pass.
Yeah,
so.
they are.
Yeah.
There's a lot. There's at least 2 or 3 on Game Pass of the series. Yeah. But I have been a huge fan since the PS2 days, I think it is.
Yeah, that's when I first came out
of this series, and it's interesting to see, you know, the iterations and the changes that they've made over time, and for them to take such a huge leap into something different and completely hit it out of the park as far as I'm concerned is great. Because I think I'm good 20 hours into this game, and I've heard if you do everything, you're talking like 80 hours too. So that's a good time sink.
Are the karaoke mini games still there?
Yes, they are.
What about the Sega arcades?
Yes, which by the way they're closing in Japan right now, which is sad. Yeah, they're still there. You can still play Virtual Fighter and all that kind of stuff. And unlike the other games, it does take place in pretty much right now. Not right now, but 2019. Because 2020 version of this game would be completely different. But
wait, why can't we leave the house? What?
Yeah, this is the worst Yakuza game ever. Just sitting there. He's playing Virtual Fighter on his system and getting fatter. That's literally the entire game.
He's playing Dragon Quest. Come on, Eric.
Yeah, he's playing Dragon Quest. By the way, there's some great things because I just hit. Well, I'm not just hit 40, but I hit 44 this year. But the character through much of the game is in his early 40s, and there's a lot of references to being in their early 40s and being in their 40s, which is just funny. It's like one of the references is like, it's not a great time to start a new quest, but I'm ready to level up at 40. And so I was just like, oh my God, you're my new hero, Juwan. Like, I love you. You're amazing. So I would highly recommend, if you're a role-playing game fan, especially JRPGs, and you like, heck, even if you like the Final Fantasy VII remake, you might like this game.
Yeah. Fantastic. Okay, guys. Woo! That is an hour and 40-minute episode this week. We have.
Sorry, I tried to get all that out as quick as possible.
Thank you, buddy. I know you could talk for 2 hours just on Yakuza, like on your own. That's absolutely fine.
Which might happen.
Which may happen, exactly. So we'll save the Video Game Award nominations for, if you're both available for next weekend's show, we'll do that then. If that's okay.
Should be. Mm-hmm.
Cool. Okay.
If America's still here.
Yes, exactly. But guys, I want to say a big thank you for hanging out with me this morning, and to our viewers for listening to us ramble on about next generation news, features, the launch games that we're all playing. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you're watching later on catch up, then do like, subscribe, share, and
can I say one thing?
Yes, sir. Go for
it. Congratulations again, buddy. I want to officially welcome you into the Father Gamer clan. So congratulations, buddy.
I need a Father Gamer beanie now. I need one of those beanies.
I'll send you one as soon as you send me $24.95. So
plus postage and packaging and tax.
Oh God, no! Sorry, buddy. No, congratulations. It is awesome.
Thank you, guys. To our viewers, thank you for hanging out again. Take care, and we'll see you next week. Bye bye.